The void of space stretched endlessly, silent and indifferent. At the very edge of known star systems, a small alien outpost drifted in orbit around a barren, icy planet. Its hull was scratched and scarred from decades of meteor strikes, and the hum of its power core was the only sound that broke the oppressive silence. The outpost was a forward observation post for the Galactic Throne, tasked with monitoring the edge of explored space. It was insignificant, almost forgotten, a tiny blot in the vast darkness. Inside the control room, alien officers moved with mechanical precision. Their skin shimmered in dull metallic shades, and their eyes were narrow, cold, and calculating. Screens flickered with data, showing distant stars, asteroid belts, and the occasional wandering ship. Life at the outpost was dull and monotonous. That is, until the sensors picked up something unusual. "Commander Varlon," hissed an officer, his voice tense. "We are receiving an incoming signal, faint, irregular. It's an SOS." The room went silent. The word SOS was unfamiliar in their language. The aliens had their own systems for distress calls, and human transmissions were barely understood. On the main screen, a waveform blinked erratically, the signal weak, distorted, and full of gaps. The letters were in human code, strange symbols that made no immediate sense. Varlon leaned over the console, his multi-fingered hands tracing the lines of the transmission. His eyes narrowed. "Humans," he whispered. "We have no stations in this sector. Why would humans be here?" The officers murmured among themselves, voices tight with unease. The Galactic Throne's maps had no record of human fleets operating this far from known space. In theory, humans were weak. In theory, they were slow, predictable, and easy to destroy. Yet here was a signal coming from a human source, deep in unclaimed territory. The console beeped. A new reading appeared. A massive object was moving toward the outpost. The aliens froze, instinctive reactions kicking in. The object was cloaked, invisible to most sensors, yet subtle disturbances in the electromagnetic field revealed its presence. It was huge. Larger than any human craft they had catalogued, larger than even some of the Galactic Throne's smaller cruisers. "Commander, it's decloaking," another officer said, voice trembling. The object shimmered, as if it had been invisible all along. And then, slowly, impossibly, it revealed itself, a massive warship, unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. Its hull was sleek, dark, and angular, bristling with weapons that seemed almost alive, and energy lines coursed across it like veins. The ship's presence was terrifying, not because it was firing, not because it was attacking, but simply because it existed. The sensors could barely comprehend it. The AI's calculations failed. The outpost's central AI, normally precise and unflappable, began to stutter. Its voice, usually calm and monotone, faltered as it processed the readings. Error, unidentified object, projections, failure, total destruction, probability, 99.9%. Varlon's antennas twitched. "Total destruction? Explain." "Impossible to calculate, Commander," the AI replied, static cutting through its voice. "Object parameters exceed known threat levels. Probability of outpost survival, near zero." The officers exchanged panicked glances. Panic spread like a virus. Their training, their confidence in the Galactic Throne's superiority, evaporated instantly. They had faced threats before, pirates, rogue factions, rival species, but nothing like this. Nothing that made the AI itself panic. "Is it human?" one officer dared to ask. Varlon's gaze hardened. "Yes, it must be. The transmission, the code, nothing else fits. But how? How did humans build this?" The warship loomed closer, now fully visible against the dark void. Its hull glimmered faintly, reflecting distant starlight, and its silhouette was monstrous, elegant, and terrifying all at once. Tiny fighter drones, almost invisible, swirled around it like hornets, each one emitting energy pulses that burned through the outpost's shielding. The room's atmosphere grew thick with dread. Every screen, every sensor, every calculation screamed the same message: they were hopelessly outmatched. And yet, the human warship did not attack. It hovered silently, observing, as if aware that the outpost was watching it in terrified fascination. Varlin's mind raced. Signal. SOS. They must be responding to something, he muttered. But what could? The answer came in a whisper of fear from his subordinates. Commander, maybe they answer only certain calls. Varlin's antennas rose sharply, tension slicing through his limbs. Certain calls. The AI, still stammering, completed the thought. Historical records, probability, humans respond, with overwhelming force, when summoned, but only when deemed necessary. Threat level, catastrophic. Silence fell. The weight of what they were facing pressed down on the room like gravity. The aliens realized, for the first time, that humanity was not just a minor species to be overlooked or ridiculed. Humanity, or at least this warship, was something else entirely. Something terrifyingly capable. Something that could destroy fleets before they even knew what hit them. Prepare defensive protocols, Varlon ordered, though his voice lacked conviction. Raise shields, deploy interceptors. The officers scrambled, but their movements felt mechanical, futile. They were trained to fight enemies they could predict. They were not prepared for this. The human ship, massive and silent, waited in orbit, a predator that had already decided the rules. Outside, the cold stars shone with harsh clarity. The human warship's engines pulsed faintly, a heartbeat in the void. It was not an attack yet, but it didn't need to be. Its presence alone was a threat beyond comprehension. Who is this human? One officer whispered, almost to himself. And what are they capable of? Another added, voice shaking. No one had an answer. But deep inside, every alien present understood the terrifying truth. Whatever humanity was, it had just arrived, and nothing in the galactic throne would ever be the same. The outpost trembled as the human warship lingered, poised, patient, and silent. The void seemed to hold its breath. And somewhere, in the empty vastness of space, a quiet, almost imperceptible pulse rippled outward, an SOS answered not by allies, but by a force the galaxy had never dared imagine. Far away, in the glittering capital of the galactic throne, alarms blared through the grand command halls. The walls, made of polished black crystal, vibrated with the hum of countless warships in orbit. Screens lined the room, showing the latest reports from outposts across the galaxy. And one report made the heart of the Empire stop cold. An unknown human warship had appeared at the edge of their territory. Counselors and military leaders gathered in panic. Their golden armor and flowing robes did little to hide the fear in their eyes. The galactic throne had faced countless enemies before, but the readings coming from the outpost were impossible. Nothing in their vast archives could explain the power levels, the technology, the sheer size of the ship. This is impossible, hissed Admiral Kether, his voice sharp with disbelief. They are weak. We have studied them for centuries. They should not be capable of such force. A younger officer, trembling, spoke up. Sir, the reports are confirmed. The warship is massive. Its energy readings exceed anything in our fleets. Our calculations predict total annihilation if engagement occurs. The council chamber erupted into murmurs. Panic spread like wildfire. Many counselors had always dismissed humanity, mocking them as a primitive species barely capable of defending themselves. Now, those same counselors were pale, whispering in fear. Counselor Valen, a veteran strategist, slammed his clawed hand on the table. We cannot ignore this. We must strike immediately. Send our fleets. Destroy it before it can. Stop. Kether snapped, his antennae twitching in anger. You do not understand. Our intelligence is incomplete. We cannot risk it. One misstep, and our fleets will be obliterated. Valen's eyes widened. Obliterated? You mean, destroyed? By a single ship? Yes, Kether said, his voice tight. And I do not exaggerate. Our scouts report technology that defies all known science. Its weapons, shields, speed, everything exceeds our own. We may be facing extinction." The room fell silent. Even the youngest counselors, trained to be fearless, felt a chill deep in their cores. The idea that humans, so small, so underestimated, could pose a true threat to the galactic throne was unthinkable. Kether activated a central hologram. A glowing outline of the human warship appeared, rotating slowly in the air. Counselors gasped as they studied it. Energy conduits ran across its hull, glowing faintly. Its angular design was unlike anything in the throne's records. It seemed almost alive. "Our sensors cannot fully penetrate its cloaking," Kether said. "It appeared and disappeared at will. Our AI cannot predict its movements. Every calculation ends in failure, total destruction." A quiet voice from the back of the chamber spoke up. "Commander, the SOS. Could it be calling someone?" Kether's antennas stiffened. "Calling?" Humans respond to distress, but only on their own terms. And when they respond, his voice trailed off. He did not need to finish the sentence. Every leader present understood. If humans responded fully, there would be no survivors. The council erupted again, this time in a mixture of fear and anger. Many shouted for immediate retaliation. Others pleaded to retreat, to avoid the human ship entirely. But retreat was impossible. The ship could strike anywhere, anytime, without warning. Its location was already known. "Prepare the fleets," Kether finally commanded. "But do so cautiously. Engage only if we have overwhelming advantage. We cannot underestimate this human, this weapon." The orders went out across the throne's systems. Hundreds of warships prepared for action, engines glowing, weapons arming. Officers barked commands, but the tension was unbearable. Even the bravest pilots felt fear gnawing at their hearts. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the human warship waited silently. It did not fire. It did not communicate. Yet its presence alone was a message, one that the galactic throne would never forget. Inside the council chamber, Kether's voice was grim. "We mocked humanity. We thought them weak. Now, we are learning just how dangerous arrogance can be." Outside, the stars shone cold and distant. Somewhere in the dark void, the human ship loomed like a predator, silent, patient, and watching. And for the first time in centuries, the galactic throne realized the galaxy was not theirs to command. Not anymore. The council's fear turned into something worse, a creeping, hollow panic. They were facing an enemy they could not understand. A force that ignored rules, calculations, and expectations. And above all, a force that would not forgive mistakes. Somewhere deep inside, a voice whispered, "The humans have come, and nothing will ever be the same." The void outside the outpost seemed calm, almost peaceful, but that peace was an illusion. Thousands of kilometers away, the galactic throne's fleet emerged from warp. Massive cruisers, sleek destroyers, and countless fighter wings glided into formation, their weapons primed, their engines humming with power. They moved as one, confident in the Empire's might, eager to strike what they believed would be an easy target. "Target acquired," Admiral Kether's voice echoed across the fleet. "Prepare to engage. Humanity will not survive this." But somewhere in the darkness, the human warship waited, patient and silent. It did not move, it did not signal, it simply existed, a shadow of death in the void. The galactic throne sensors tried to measure its weapons, its shields, its speed, but every calculation failed. The ship defied logic. Every reading contradicted the last. "Commander," said one alien pilot, voice tight with unease. "Our targeting arrays, they're glitching. Something is interfering with sensors." Kether's antennas twitched in irritation. "Malfunctions? Focus. Target the human, now." The fleet fired. Energy beams lanced through the dark void, aiming straight for the human warship. For a moment, it seemed as though the attack would succeed. But then, almost impossibly fast, the human ship reacted. Its hull shimmered, folding in and out of visibility as if space itself bent around it. Beams that should have struck it passed harmlessly through nothing. Then the first counterattack came. One silent pulse, almost invisible, and a galactic throne cruiser erupted in a blinding explosion. Fire consumed its hull, metal tearing and bending as energy ripped it apart. Alarms screamed, and the fleet commander's voice shattered the tense calm. What is that?" a young officer stammered. "Our shields, they're gone. The cruiser, it's destroyed." Another pulse struck, then another. Entire fighter wings disintegrated before they could even react. Ships that had outclassed humanity by every known measure were obliterated in moments. The fleet's confidence evaporated. Panic spread like wildfire. "Fall back! Fall back!" Kether ordered, but it was too late. The human warship moved with inhuman precision, intercepting retreating vessels with surgical accuracy. One by one, cruisers, frigates, and fighter wings vanished in brilliant flashes of light. Inside the command room of a surviving ship, officers stared at their displays in disbelief. How is this possible? Their technology, their tactics, it's beyond our understanding. Meanwhile, the human warship remained calm, almost indifferent. It maneuvered silently, never giving away more than necessary. Its AI, or perhaps its crew, anticipated every move, every retreat, every attempt to regroup. It was not just strong, it was smart and merciless. The surviving alien pilots whispered among themselves, fear thick in their voices. This isn't just a ship. It's a weapon of legend." "They said Deathworlders were myths," another muttered. "But maybe the myths were real." At the outpost, sensors tracked the destruction, and alien officers felt their stomachs drop. They had called the human warship an unknown anomaly at first. Now, it was clear, it was an unstoppable force, capable of annihilating the entire fleet. The SOS that had seemed like a faint, weak signal now felt like a death sentence. "Commander Varlon," one officer gasped. They are destroying everything." Varlon's antennas twitched with tension. "Yes, and they are answering the call. But not for us. Not yet." The alien AI, still struggling to process the events, reported in stammering bursts. Probability, fleet survival, 0%, human tactical efficiency, unmatched, threat level, catastrophic. The silence that followed was suffocating. Even Kether, standing on his flagship's bridge, felt a rare chill. The humans were not just strong, they were unpredictable, merciless, and unstoppable. Every attempt to outmaneuver them failed. Every strategy crumbled before it even began. As the last of the fleet retreated, battered and broken, the human warship hovered in the void, a silent sentinel. No victory celebration, no taunting broadcasts, just presence. Its shadow loomed over the galactic throne's fleet like a promise. A warning. A reminder that humans answered calls in ways no one could anticipate. And far away, in the cold emptiness of space, Varlon and his officers whispered to themselves, trembling, Who are these humans? And what are they truly capable of? The answers, the aliens knew, would come soon enough. The battlefield was quiet now, but the silence was heavy, almost suffocating. The Galactic Throne's fleet had retreated, battered and broken, leaving behind a trail of drifting wreckage. Sparks floated in the void like dying stars, and the alien officers stared at the destruction in stunned disbelief. Their once mighty ships had been reduced to fragments, and yet the human warship remained unscathed, hovering silently, like a predator watching its prey. Back at the outpost, Commander Varlon pored over the data. His sensors, strained and overworked, tried to analyze the human ship. Every measurement contradicted the last. Its weapons, shields, and engines operated on principles that seemed to ignore all known physics. Even the AI, which had once predicted total destruction with certainty, now hesitated, stammering in repeated loops. Then the unexpected happened. Hidden deep within the ship's energy patterns, the sensors detected something unusual, inscriptions, faint and ancient, engraved across its hull. They weren't human. The symbols were alien, far older than the galactic throne itself. It's a Deathworlder vessel, Varlon whispered, his antennas twitching in disbelief. But Deathworlders were myths, legends, extinct for centuries. The other officers exchanged nervous glances. Stories of the Deathworlders had circulated for generations, tales of a mysterious race so powerful, so merciless, that entire star systems had vanished at their hands. They were said to be dead, scattered into the void, their ships lost to history. And yet here was proof, glowing faintly across the hull of a human warship. Impossible, one officer said, voice shaking. Humans, allied with Deathworlders? Varlon shook his head slowly. I don't know if it's an alliance, or if this ship is one of them. Perhaps humanity inherited their technology, or controlled it somehow. The AI interrupted, still glitching. Historical records. Deathworlders, probability, extremely high. Humans not acting alone, catastrophic threat. Fear settled over the room like a heavy fog. The aliens had always considered humans weak. They had mocked them, laughed at their technology, dismissed their military. And now, humanity had done something no one expected. They had either found the remnants of the deadliest race in the galaxy, or somehow claimed their power for themselves. Varlon turned to his officers. Listen carefully. Whatever this is, whatever humanity has become, it is beyond anything we have ever faced. This is not just a warship. It is a weapon, a strategy, perhaps even a warning. Outside, the human ship lingered in orbit, silent and motionless. Yet its presence radiated authority, power, and something else, an almost sentient awareness. It was as if the ship itself could read minds, anticipate actions, and punish mistakes before they happened. The outpost sensors struggled to track it, but every attempt only revealed more questions. Commander, an officer whispered, if this is Deathworlder technology, if humans control it, what hope do we have? Varlon's antennas lowered in thought. Hope, he said quietly. We have none. Not if the humans choose to fight. And judging by the SOS, they will answer the call, but not for us. Not for anyone who underestimates them. As the officers watched, the ship's hull seemed to pulse, almost imperceptibly, like a heartbeat. Every flicker of light across its surface was a reminder of its incomprehensible power. The Deathworlders were gone, yes, but their legacy lived on, now in human hands. And the galaxy, for the first time, realized that legends were not always myths. Fear turned to panic. Alien scientists scrambled to make sense of what they had seen, but the more data they collected, the less they understood. The warship had no weaknesses, no predictable patterns, no vulnerabilities their AI could exploit. Their ancient records offered no guidance, their fleets no protection. Varlon stepped back from the console, antennas drooping. Prepare the reports, he said, voice heavy with dread. Send everything to the Galactic Throne. Tell them, humanity may not be weak. Tell them, the legends were real. Tell them, the Deathworlders are here, in some form, and we are utterly unprepared. For the first time in centuries, the outpost felt the weight of true terror. The humans were not just powerful, they were beyond comprehension. And now, the universe was about to learn exactly what that meant. Far beyond the outpost, the human warship waited. Patient, silent, watching. And somewhere, deep in the shadows of space, its sensors picked up the trembling heartbeat of the Galactic Throne's fear. It was not a battle yet. But it would come. And when it did, the galaxy would never forget the name of the humans, or the Deathworlders who once walked among them. The Galactic Throne was furious. Reports from the outpost had reached the capital, and the images of destroyed ships and broken fleets ignited a fire of rage across the empire. Council chambers, usually calm and orderly, erupted with shouts, accusations, and panic. We cannot allow this insolence, roared Admiral Kether, pacing in the Grand Hall. Humans, weak, primitive humans, have destroyed our finest ships. We must strike back. Gather the fleets. Every cruiser, every destroyer, every fighter. We will crush them. Counselor Valen, still pale from the first encounter, tried to reason. Admiral, their technology. It is beyond our understanding. We do not know their capabilities. A direct assault could. Kether snapped. Do you think we have a choice? If we do nothing, the humans, and whatever Deathworlder technology they possess, will control this sector. Our empire will be seen as weak, and the galaxy will laugh at the throne. Plans were made quickly. Hundreds of ships were mobilized, forming the largest strike force the throne had ever sent into unknown space. Energy beams hummed, engines flared, and fleets moved in precise formations, their confidence bolstered by the sheer numbers at their command. They believed quantity could overcome quality. Meanwhile, at the edge of the void, the human warship waited. It had not moved. It had not fired. And yet its presence was a threat heavier than any fleet. The sensors of the throne's armada struggled to lock onto it, systems glitching under some invisible force. Commander, one pilot reported, voice trembling, our targeting array's interference is increasing. We can't get a fix. It's like it knows where we are before we even move. Kether's antennas twitched. Do not falter. Stay in formation. Fire only on my command. The battle began. The throne's fleet unleashed wave after wave of attacks, energy beams cutting across the void in deadly arcs. But again, the human warship moved with precision beyond comprehension. It dodged, countered, and dismantled the alien ships one by one. Destroyers exploded in brilliant flashes, fighters vanished before they could launch weapons, and entire wings were shredded by invisible forces. The throne's officers stared at the displays in horror. How are they doing this? One whispered. They predict us, another answered, voice tight with fear. It's like they see the future. Panic spread across the throne's fleet. Confidence crumbled into fear. Fear into chaos. Ships collided in the confusion, weapons misfired, and retreating forces were cut down before they could escape. The humans did not chase them, at least, not yet, but every strike left a message. We are unstoppable. At the outpost, Varlon watched the reports come in. His antennas drooped. The throne has thrown everything at them, and still, humanity stands. Still, they destroy our finest forces. Do you think the Deathworlders are helping them? Asked one officer. Varlon shook his head. I do not know. But it does not matter. Whoever or whatever is behind that ship, they are beyond comprehension. The throne may have the largest fleet in this sector, but it is meaningless against this power. The human warship continued its silent, precise destruction. No messages, no threats, no celebrations, just calculated, methodical annihilation. The aliens began to whisper about myths and legends, about the Deathworlders who had vanished long ago, and now, somehow, their power was in human hands. Admiral Kether, watching from his flagship, felt the cold grip of fear for the first time. We underestimated them, we mocked them, and now... His voice faltered, and he did not finish. In the void, the human warship pulsed faintly, engines glowing like a heartbeat. It was a warning to the throne, a reminder of the cost of arrogance. The humans did not need to destroy everything, just enough to make sure the message was clear. Do not underestimate us. The surviving ships of the throne withdrew, battered, broken, and terrified. Their arrogance had been shattered, replaced by a gnawing, creeping dread. Humanity was no longer weak. Humanity was a force the galaxy could not ignore. And somewhere deep in space, the warship waited. Watching. Patient. Silent. The message was simple and undeniable. The galactic throne had struck back and lost. The humans would answer calls, yes. But only on their terms. And when they did, entire fleets could vanish without a trace. The galaxy would never forget this day. The remnants of the galactic throne's fleet drifted through the void, battered and broken. Smoke and debris floated silently among the stars, a grim testament to the humans' power. Officers and counselors whispered in disbelief, unable to comprehend how a single warship, one ship, could dismantle fleets that had been considered unstoppable. Back at the outpost, Commander Varlon stared at the data streams, his antennas drooping in exhaustion. He had been tracking the human ship throughout the battle, but now something strange appeared in the readings. Hidden within the warship's signals was a pattern, faint but unmistakable, a coded broadcast. It's a message, Varlon whispered. Encoded, ancient, something we can barely decode. The alien AI tried to interpret it, but its processors struggled. Every attempt returned fragmented results, flashes of old Deathworlder symbols, references to fleets long thought extinct, coordinates in uncharted space. Slowly, the pieces came together. The humans were not acting alone. They're calling for reinforcements, Varlon realized, voice tight with fear. But not just any reinforcements. Deathworlders. The room went silent. The Deathworlders had been considered a myth, an extinct race of warriors so deadly that entire systems had fallen before them centuries ago. Their ships were said to be impossible to defeat. And now, humanity had somehow summoned them. They're here, an officer stammered, eyes wide. The humans, they didn't just destroy our fleets. They called something bigger. Something we cannot fight. Varlon nodded grimly. Yes. The SOS we detected, it was never for us. Humanity answered it. But not for the throne, not for anyone here. They answered it in their own way. And whatever comes next, we will not survive. Across the void, the human warship pulsed faintly, engines glowing like a heartbeat. Tiny drones flitted around it, scanning the wreckage of alien ships. It moved with careful precision, leaving no sign of chaos behind except the aftermath of its attacks. And then, almost imperceptibly, distant shadows began to stir. From the dark reaches of uncharted space, massive silhouettes appeared. They were enormous, angular, and unmistakable. Fleets long believed lost or erased, slowly moved into position. The Deathworlders had returned. And they were following humanity's lead. The alien officers froze. Every calculation, every strategy, every historical record became meaningless. There was no precedent for this. Entire fleets vanished in the past under the Deathworlders' attacks, and now humanity had revived their power. Varlon's antennas twitched. This is unprecedented. Humans, they are not just strong. They have allies, legends reborn. And they will answer no one's call except their own. The AI, still glitching under the strain of analysis, finally reported in a broken voice. Threat, beyond comprehension, human tactical planning, augmented by Deathworlder fleet, probability of survival, 0%. Panic spread among the officers. The throne's arrogance had blinded them. They had believed humans were weak. They had thought myths were dead. Now, the truth was undeniable. The galaxy had underestimated humanity at its peril. Prepare the reports, Varlon said quietly, voice heavy with dread. Send every detail to the throne. Tell them everything. Humanity has answered a call, but it was not theirs to make. And the Deathworlders are back. Outside, the human warship moved silently, leading the returning legends like a shepherd guiding wolves. The stars around it seemed to bow to its presence, silent witnesses to a force the galaxy had never dared face. Somewhere in the void, the first messages of fear reached the galactic throne. Pilots whispered, counselors shivered, and even seasoned generals understood the grim reality. The humans had not only defended themselves, they had summoned a force that no one could oppose. The galaxy had changed forever. And deep in the shadows, the human warship waited. Watching. Calculating. Patient. The message was clear. The galactic throne had struck back and lost. But this was only the beginning. The humans would answer calls, yes. But only on their terms. And when they did, even legends would bow. The galactic throne's forces had regrouped as best they could, battered and trembling. Their fleets were smaller, their confidence shattered, and their commanders whispered of a legend that had returned to haunt them. The humans had not only survived, they had summoned the Deathworlders, and together, they were an unstoppable storm. Admiral Kether stood on the bridge of his flagship, eyes scanning the view screens. Hundreds of alien ships remained, and he clung desperately to the hope that numbers could still win. "We will strike now," he barked. "Hit them before they organize completely. Humanity cannot withstand everything we throw at them." But even as he spoke, shadows moved at the edge of sensor range. Massive Deathworlder ships emerged from the void, their hulls bristling with unknown weapons. Their presence alone radiated power, and the throne's AI froze in terror. Every calculation failed. Every strategy crumbled before it could begin. "Commander," one officer whispered, voice shaking. They're here. All of them." Kether's antennas twitched. "Then we fight. We have no choice." The battle began. Energy beams cut through the void, fire streaked across space, and ships collided in deadly chaos. The throne's fleet tried to hold formation, but the humans were always one step ahead. The warship, sleek and monstrous, moved with terrifying precision, directing attacks and counterattacks. Deathworlder vessels tore through the throne's lines. Their technology was ancient but far beyond comprehension, weapons and shields functioning in ways the aliens could not predict. Entire wings of ships were obliterated before they could respond. From his flagship, Kether watched in disbelief as cruisers exploded in brilliant flashes, frigates disintegrated under unknown energy waves, and the remaining fighters were shredded in seconds. His fleet was crumbling. Every plan, every hope of victory, had vanished. "Fall back!" Kether screamed. "Survive, retreat, save what you can." But retreat was impossible. The humans anticipated every maneuver, and the Deathworlders cut off escape routes with surgical precision. Ships that tried to flee were met with instantaneous destruction. The Galactic Throne's empire, so proud and arrogant, was collapsing before their eyes. Inside the human warship, silent and calculating, the captain, or perhaps the ship itself, guided the Deathworlder fleet with cold efficiency. There was no malice, no hatred, only purpose. Every strike was measured, every move precise. The humans had called for this. And now, the galaxy would answer. On the throne's bridge, officers whispered in disbelief. How can one species control the deadliest fleet in history? Kether clenched his fists. "They are beyond anything we imagined. And we cannot stop them." The final assault tore through the remaining fleets. Ships were obliterated in moments, command structures destroyed, and the throne's leadership scattered in terror. Panic reigned. Their empire, so confident, so unchallenged, was falling in pieces. The human warship hovered silently over the battlefield, engines pulsing like a heartbeat. The Deathworlders followed, leaving no survivors, no mercy. The message was unmistakable: arrogance has a price, and the galaxy will learn it the hard way. And then, as suddenly as it began, the battle ended. The throne's remaining forces retreated in disarray. Entire fleets were destroyed. Commanders who had once mocked humanity now whispered tales of fear and respect. Humanity had answered a call, and the galaxy had witnessed their might. Varlon and his officers at the outpost watched from afar, antennas drooping in awe and fear. "They've done it," Varlon said quietly. "They've destroyed the throne's fleets. Humanity, and the Deathworlders, have changed everything." The void was silent once more. But the message lingered across the stars, clear and undeniable. The humans had come, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same. The throne had struck back, and lost. The humans and their allies did not celebrate. They waited, patient and silent, ready for any new threat, ready for whatever the galaxy might throw at them next. The legend of the Deathworlders lived on, now intertwined with humanity's unstoppable force. And somewhere in the emptiness of space, the first whispers began. Pilots, officers, and survivors across distant systems spoke quietly. Never underestimate humans. The galaxy had learned its lesson. The battlefield was quiet now. Smoke and debris drifted across the void, remnants of the Galactic Throne's once mighty fleets. Ships that had ruled the stars were reduced to floating wrecks, their energy cores flickering weakly before dying. Silence hung heavy, broken only by the faint hum of the human warship and the massive Deathworlder fleet that surrounded it. Commander Varlon and his officers at the outpost stared at the displays, antennas drooping in awe and fear. The humans had not only defended themselves, they had reshaped the galaxy. They had answered a call that no one else could, and the result was total and absolute. "They've done it," Varlon whispered. "They've destroyed the throne's fleets, and shown us a power no one can match." Far away, the surviving leaders of the galactic throne huddled in their capital, stunned and broken. The arrogance that had driven centuries of conquest was gone, replaced by fear and uncertainty. Their fleets were shattered, their empire exposed, and their legend tarnished. For the first time, they were no longer untouchable. The human warship pulsed faintly, a steady heartbeat in the void. It had no need for celebration, no need for words. Its presence alone sent a message across the galaxy: humanity had arrived. And with them came a force that even legends like the Deathworlders could not match in precision, strategy, or determination. The Deathworlder fleet, massive and ancient, followed silently, their immense ships a reminder of a power long thought extinct. They moved in perfect coordination with the humans, like wolves guided by a single mind. The combined force was unstoppable, yet calm, precise, and patient. Varlon turned to his officers. "Remember this," he said quietly. "The humans are not weak. They answer calls, but only on their terms. And when they do, no one in the galaxy can oppose them." Across countless systems, the whispers began. Pilots, commanders, and civilians spoke in hushed tones. "Never underestimate humans. They answer when others cannot. And they destroy when others dare. The Deathworlders, alive, with humanity's guidance, nothing can stop them." The galactic throne had learned a harsh truth: arrogance had limits, and the galaxy had shifted forever. Humans were no longer just another species, they were a force to be reckoned with. They did not fight for conquest, not yet. But when they did, their power was unmatched, their allies legendary, and their strategy flawless. The human warship turned away from the battlefield, moving silently into the depths of uncharted space. The Deathworlders followed, shadows in the void, silent and watchful. Their message was clear: humanity had arrived, the galaxy had witnessed their might, and the age of underestimating humans was over. And somewhere in the darkness, in systems far and wide, the stars seemed to shine differently. A new era had begun. The age of the galactic throne's unquestioned dominance was over. The age of humanity, and their unstoppable allies, was dawning. Commander Varlon lowered his antennas, watching the void long after the humans had disappeared from view. "We have seen them," he whispered. "We have felt their power. And the galaxy will never be the same." The void held its silence, but in that silence lay a promise. Humans had arrived, and they were here to stay. The galaxy would tremble. Legends would awaken. And the future belonged to those who dared to challenge humanity.